So there was some shocking stuff in this episode of Black Clover, mainly on a production line, but also as well finally having the first real villain of the series being like appeared, known as Heath. And I've got to say there were some interesting things in both this episode, as this did some things where I think actually helped, like compared to the manga, where like they didn't give like Magna really like too much of the backstory. They just gave them like a couple of written things and never really gave them like a little flashback or anything. But they decided to really improve him in this one by actually giving him a little bit more of the fleshed out backstory compared to like what we've seen in the series thus far. And not to mention as well the pacing as well. Even with like half of the episode being filler, they still did near 2 chapters, nearly the entire volume. They nearly finished this entire first volume of the series, like at the end of the 9th episode. I know that's still kind of crazy to hear, but there's some reasons to that. But also as well, I want to explain some stuff as well about this episode. So a good majority of it was mainly the fact that like Magna, Asta, Noelle would like hey, we got here, well fuck it, we're walking the rest of the way because I'm running low on magic right now, which in the manga they just arrived, and then it was like, oh look at this shit happening. So this actually gave a chance to like them like Asta to be dicking about hunting some boars and shit, you know what they were supposed to be fucking doing in the first place. Kind of just got ignored in the end, where it was like, fuck it, you saved us anyway, don't worry about it. And this gave a chance to like not only have a few little comedy moments, but we got to understand a little bit about Magna a little bit more. We get to understand like what was he before, because we always heard that he was just a commoner, that like Yami took him in no matter what, and his relation to the villager, like the chief villager that like they did the job for in the first place. And the fact is, like the second that Magna got his grimoire, he was a complete and utter asshole. Like he was like there like running like on this village singing that he was badass and shit, and it like the guy was just like, you think you can do this shit to the village? He's like the only one that had like the possible tendency to like become a magic knight like Magna did, and he's just like beating the shit out of him as a kid, and he's like, yeah, I'm badass as fuck, I can do this, and pretty much taught him like how to be a man in a way. Like that was his whole, everything that you see from Magna, kind of like his whole drive is sort of coming from this man and saying like, if you a real man should help people, that's why you should go and join the magic knights. And like the fact that he was improving as well, like later on throughout the line on that Magna, he was like, I'm actually still getting used to this. And the only thing that's ever been his real weakness as like in a way of being a magic knight, it's actually been his like very short amount of magic that he's consumed. And that's kind of the sad thing from what we understand like in this episode, as we got a little bit more of the explanation in the world, as we've got all these different kind of kingdoms and all that. We've got the Clover kingdom that we're in, we've got like, not to mention as well, we've got like Diamond, we've got Spade, and we've got the giant like center of it where all the royalties are. Like there's a bunch of depressing things about this world, and then you just get where all the commoners are and the people that are just pretty much just treated as cattle, and like by their home democracies, like if they don't have magic or they just got no tiny bit of it that can be used anything and barely be able to use in tools, then you're just nothing but just useless in this world. And it's like, that's kind of still a little fucked up as well. And considering that even as well, Asta didn't, like from how they were like even portraying it in the episode, it sounded like even as well that they had it slightly a little bit better on the orphanage, as it was a bit where it was high aptitude of like magical power. So it was like, oh, okay, this village is a little bit better compared to where someone like Magna came from, where the others did. But then we finally get to cut to like the actual chapters of the episode that were being adapted, and they arrived at the Mist Village. And this thing was like, wait, why is the village covered in mist? The one reason why we're referring to this. Okay, this is probably magical as hell. What the fuck is going on? Like, Asta starts swinging around, see if this is magical based. He keeps going at it, and then they find the villagers, which were like all being like imprisoned and had like this giant icicles on their face, like ready to like drop on them. And I was like, what the fuck is going on then? It's like I'm gone away for like a couple of months and this shit happens, and turns out, one, the old man's dead, which was like, even as well as the manga was just like, oh, he just died, like immediately as he was trying to fight Heath and the rest of these guys, and it's like, how could you? And like, basically, like, one, they've been talking about for a while that they're looking for this magic stone, but to them, he's like, I ain't gonna tell you jack shit, and he's just describing them as cattle, and it's just like, I just need to kill people that are in my way. So it's like, oh wow, so you have such amazing thing, like amazing giant leaps into like progression and like, oh, what a deep villain right now. And I know it's the first fucking villain of the series, so it's like immediately you hear like, all right, let's see like if anything. It's more a showcase the characters at this point. That's how I've always treated like mainly the first villains of series, like especially like shonen series, where it's like, alright, they're there to do some cool stuff, but then you can have not only your first villains of the arc, like you can have some Savagezweipanda, which are, you know, pretty goddamn fucking cool, like, and actually have some great moments to them, and like, that's how I always felt, like, it's like, you know, your Grand Fishers and just your, like, Buggies and shit like that, like, you know, you get your, like, kind of run-of-the-mill starting villains and all that, and until later on you get the more ones that are more interesting and add more to the plot. But, like, the entire part of this episode was like, we need to fucking, like, make sure these villages are safe. We need to get them the fuck out of here, which is going to be a little bit difficult right now, because we're going against 4 of them. It's 4 versus 3, and one of them can't fire magic very well, looking at you, Noelle. So we're in a situation right now. So it's basically up to Asta and Magda, so it's 2v2 as they're trying to protect people, like, going left and right. So it's like, oh, we're running out, and like, the fact of the matter is, like, they were like being really assholes about this, where it's like, you could let the villagers die, and you could just, you know, hey, go. That could be a thing. Like, you know, you just let them die and we'll let you live. And it's like, the fact that, like, Noelle was thinking about this, like, for a while, and if I remember, like, I remember the manga, like, especially that manga was said, run Noelle as well. That was a thing as well, where she, like, she was actually told to run from Magna. I don't think it was said in the episode. That might be something I might have slightly skipped in the episode, but I'm pretty sure in the manga they told her, run Noelle, get out of here. And that was from like Magna and like not just her. And it was like, oh, I'm having doubts. So it feels a little bit more weirder in the anime where it's just like, she's like, I'm now about to run, and then a little girl says, save me, Magic Knight. I have new resolution. It was still weird in the manga some way, but it's like her getting her power up and it's like, I'm immediately gonna pull out. And this is where like they didn't fully did the entire second chapter, because there's like 3 pages left of the end of volume 1, and I have a feeling they want to like stretch the fuck out of that for the last volume. But this could show some changes, actually. Like this is promising, considering that this is the first one of the actual series to go further than a single chapter. I think they might have something now that they're working on. It's still, and I understand why they did 2 chapters. Like, if you've seen what they were doing with the pacing as well, and what was happening, and not to mention, like, even as well, I've been really enjoying this show regardless, and it's always been something that's been talked about with the show, but I think the filler was enjoyable, but if they did a single chapter on this, like what we had in here, this would have been really a fucking rough one, because honestly, going from that, like the first chapter that they adapted, not too much happened apart from entering the village and being like, we're gonna take you down, man. And that's the end of that chapter for the most part. It's like, yeah, try and stretch that out for like 20 minutes. So they decided to do the right thing. But yeah, they want the finale to this fight, which is, by the way, a really quick fucking fight, by the way. Like, if you couldn't have told, that, yeah, it was supposed to end in this, like, kind of whole episode in a couple of minutes. So yeah, this guy's not real hot shit. So overall, like, I enjoyed the episode. Like, I never was like here, like, oh my god, Heath, like, he's an amazing villain. He never was, but it's like, honestly, I'm looking forward to it, because it does help, like, grow a few characters, especially, like, we get to see Noelle's new technique, which I think is called, like, the Sea Dragon's Lair, I believe, if I remember. Like, it was, like, they didn't say it in the episode, but I believe it was, like, something like Sea Dragon's Lair or Sea Serpent's, like, Lair or something like that, which is, like, her using this entire water power, just protecting everyone. Is like, good, now Magna and Asta can just go in guns blazing. They can just go in and take care of the rest of these fools right now. Yeah, it was an okay episode and all that. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I think it was better than last week's one, but then again, like, it's still, like, the filler, like, as well, I felt was the more better part of the episode. Like, I felt I had actually added some good stuff to Magna. I felt like the canon was, like, it was alright, like, for the most part, like, from what we got. So, you know, if anything, a 6 to 7, like, if anything, it was, like, decent. But that's all from me, everyone. Thank you, as always, for watching, and I'll see you guys, though, next time.